All right, everybody, we got a little Geno time tonight at the TD Garden. The Boston Celtics now winners of 6 in a row. We're going to break down the Celtics Pistons game coming up here on Green with Envy. Let's lock in. What up, what up, what up? Welcome into another edition of Green with Envy, post-game edition with your boy Will Weir checking in. How you doing? How you living? Joining me tonight, as he does each and every time, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only Greg Manakis. And Greg, I feel like tonight's style of matchup is going to be one that we get quite a few times going down the stretch here.
Well, there's one thing that I feel like I'm going to get a lot out of the last 15 games for the Celtics. I'm going to learn a lot about guys that probably belong in the G League. So like when you think about the role players that you kind of fall in love with, you're like, ooh, that guy might actually be interesting in a couple of years. I feel like I'm going to really expand my knowledge of the end of bench guys in the NBA. Because when you're a kid, I feel like you just know everybody. But now, and especially when we were kids, right there, they didn't have G League rosters. But now that we have the G League rosters and there are all these, young guys that are trying to make a name for themselves, getting minutes. I don't know half the guys that are on the court for the Pistons at the end of that game. So I'm learning a lot. And I did like a couple of them, though. So we can talk about that in a little bit.
And then you also get the Taj Gibsons of the world. Forgot he was on the Pistons.
Yeah.
Evan Fournier is out there. Doesn't look great, but he was out there.
Doesn't look great. Yeah, when Evan Fournier checked into the game and there was just like no reaction from the crowd, I was like, that's about right.
And I know at one point you proposed a fake trade with Evan Fournier, like, hey, maybe he can at least shoot for you. I forget what it was. It wasn't like a big trade. Yeah. But it was like all I could think in my head was, thank God they didn't trade for Evan Fournier because his shot was awful tonight. Yeah, it was bad.
He was not good. Speaking of awful shots, I'm gonna play a video for you, and I want you to tell me who this video is a stray. Is catching a stray in this video.
Time you get the ball, you shoot.
I can't believe you called me a chucker. No way I'm a chucker. I do not chuck. Never chuck. Never have chuck. Never will chuck. No chuck.
Shout out to my guy Svi. It's got to be Svi.
My man Svi Mikhailuk just comes into the game and just chucks 3-pointers. It's cool to see like him feel so confident that he just can go out there and just shoot the shit out of the ball. And I guess shoot the shit out of the ball is probably the wrong way to phrase it. He just shoots shitty. And Svi Mikhailuk's out there, especially at the end of the game when I want Jordan Walsh to like touch the ball. And Svi Mikhailuk, just anytime he touches the ball, that thing is going up.
Yeah.
He's chucking. He's full Costanza mode. Shout out to Svi for just doing his thing. Because we talked with S at the beginning of the year, and I asked S about Svi, and I was like, oh, I kind of like what I saw out of Svi. He's like, you're not going to like him, believe me.
Yeah. Svi has never met a garbage time shot he does not like. That man is ready to shoot as soon as he gets a chance to hop into that game. But with that, let's jump right in here and let's actually recap this game for you here. And we'll do a quick little morning box score for those of you listening at home. Celtics tonight, 119, Detroit Pistons 94, now a 6-game winning streak for those first place Boston Celtics. Let's start out the Detroit Pistons here. Jaden Ivey, 10 of 19 from the field. He did have 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. Not going to lie, not a ton of great stats to go over here for the Detroit Pistons. Beef Stew, who's a podcast favorite, not much out of him tonight. 5 points and 5 rebounds for him. 10 points for Stanley Umude. There's a name that I didn't know coming in tonight, Greg. He had 10 points and in the starting lineup for the Detroit Pistons. 12 points for James Wiseman. Malachi Flynn also apparently on the Pistons. 11 points for him tonight. Let's go over to the Celtics, where there's actually some really fun stat lines, some fun guys to talk about tonight. The first up, the biggest news, Kristaps Porzingis returns to the lineup tonight, plays 6 minutes in the first quarter, plays the entire third quarter, plays just under 22 minutes overall. He has 20 points, 8 rebounds on 7 of 14 shooting, 5 of 9 from 3. And then carrying the Celtics all night tonight, we had Jaylen Brown and Derrick White. Let's start with Jaylen Brown. He was 11 of 20, dominated the third quarter, 3 of 6 from 3, 6 of 8 from the free throw line. He had 31 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists and a steal. And then probably the man of the night, Derrick White, getting his first career triple-double, 22 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals and a block for good measure. And, of course, can't forget Peyton Pritchard, 23 points, 7 assists for him as well. A lot of fun minutes from some of the bench guys that I want to get into. But, Greg, games like this, they're going to be pretty consistent down the stretch. No Jason Tatum. No Al Horford tonight, no Drew Holiday, back-to-back nights where it's basically half of your top 6 that you see in the ball game. And I think we're going to see a bunch of that, like I said, coming down the stretch here. So when you look at this game, and whether it's the starters or we can jump right into some of these fun moments that I think existed throughout this game from some of the deeper rotation guys within the Celtics, what was it that jumps out to you? Do you want to start with JB? Do you want to go Derrick White? Want to go to the bench guys? Where are you feeling tonight?
I'm just going to like a general takeaway from watching this game and the way that the Celtics are able to play, especially against an undermanned Piston squad who didn't have Cade Cunningham. They didn't have Thompson playing. Who else was out for them? They had like one or two more guys.
Those were the two big ones, I think. That were
Fontecchio was out. He was like a big trade for them. But it reminded me of when I would go to summer camps as a counselor. And we would get to play against the campers, and the campers would have their opportunity to go ahead and play against us counselors. And my team that I would coach, they would always like, "Oh, Coach Greg, like, can you go get a triple-double for us? Like, can you go try and dunk the ball for us? Can you hit 10 threes for us?" I'm like, "Yeah, I could try to do all that tonight, guys. Why not? We're just fucking around." And I feel like that's kind of where the Celtics were at in this game. Jaylen Brown came out, and he was like, "You know what I'm going to work on? I'm going to work on my hard drives to my right and left, just like being super physical, playing through contact. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on attacking a physical defender with my little hang dribble, fake jab step back 3 off the right hand dribble." Derrick White's out there, and everybody on the court realizes he's about to get a triple double. So Derrick White, for the last like 5 minutes he's on the court, doesn't take a shot. He's just trying to get that last assist.
It was the most obvious hunting of an assist I've ever seen. To a certain point,
so like
almost
anti-Derrick White, like the way that he normally plays. It was just like really funny to see that. And then there's like, there's Kristaps who's out there, and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna get my walk-in 3-pointers, but I also want to try and go up against another 7-footer on the block. Like, bring me James Wiseman. Let me see what I can do against him." It was just really funny to see the Celtics clearly just trying shit for the sake of trying shit in this game.
It was a little bit more than a practice game, right?
Yeah.
Like, just like, here's what we're going to work on in this moment. Here's, what we're going to try to execute. And yeah, I mean, the Pistons just didn't have a chance in this game from the start. I think there was at one point, it was like 16-15. And it was like, man, as soon as the Celtics just get a little bit of momentum, this game's being put away. Like, this is the closest that this game is going to be. It felt like Kristaps could have had an open 3 on every single possession that the Celtics had. Like, if they really wanted to. Jaylen was going downhill at will. Like you said, it was funny watching Derrick White hunt for that assist late, because it was just the complete opposite of the way that he plays within the flow and making all the right decisions. And then you get Peyton Pritchard, who I think, I was thinking about this with Peyton Pritchard during the game today. And obviously he had a good game last night too, with his career high 13 assists in Washington. And, I think that we got him locked up, I think, on that 4-year, $30 million extension in the beginning of the season. And I feel like the stretch that we're in right now, he's going to have a lot of opportunity to play these games where he's playing 32 to 40 minutes, somewhere in that range, 32 to 38 minutes, and kind of making more of a name for himself that, if he hadn't already signed that deal, this could have been a time where teams are looking at it like, okay, we need to go like steal Pritchard away from the Celtics, because they're not going to have money to pay him too much more. And so this is kind of this is a nice reminder of how lucky we are to have Peyton Pritchard locked up on a team friendly, $8 million deal here going forward. And that's going to be your third guard that you have. And he can go out in a night like this, have 23 points, have 7 assists. And honestly, I thought it was really fun, that stretch of the third quarter where he had, I think, 3 or 4 assists in a row, had the around the back pass off the fast break to Xavier.
Nice. Yeah.
Right after that, had a really nice pass going across the lane, kind of looked off one defender in midair and then swung at this Svi in the corner for the knockdown 3. So really nice getting to see a look at Peyton Pritchard getting to run the show a little bit more. So one of the other little factors that we get to watch here down the stretch.
Did you just mention Svi Mikhailuk?
Time you get the ball, you shoot.
I can't believe you called me a chucker. No way I'm a chucker. I do not chuck. Never chuck. Never have chuck. Never will chuck. No chuck.
I think he chucked.
I think Sweet chucked. Yeah, but with Pritchard, it's funny because the Celtics only have 3 point guards, right? So Peyton
Mhm.
Pritchard is going to play in the classic 8-man rotation. If the Celtics shrink things down to 8, he's still going to see the court. But when it's garbage time, they still need a point guard on the court.
Right.
So Pritchard is like playing against some very meaningful minutes, but then he's also playing all of these quote unquote developmental minutes with the end of the bench, which is good for him to get some really real lead guard time where it's just the Peyton Pritchard show at the end of games, and he's having a blast. One thing that I really like about this team, though, in a game like tonight, in a game like against the Wizards, is the focus that they're coming out with and the energy that they're playing with for the full 48 minutes. Can you remember last year whenever we would get a big lead and we put the subs in and we didn't know how long we could leave them in because those leads would disappear?
I mean,
like
that wasn't just last year. I feel like that's the last couple years that had happened. Even before Missoula, I think back to that one famous game. I think it was against the Lakers, where we had to actually like go back and get all of our guys with like a minute and a half left, and they cut it to 6. And
Right.
it was like, guys, this was a 22-point game with like 5 minutes to go.
Yeah,
How
I
did we
think
get
it was
here?
less than that. I think it was like 3
I think
minutes
so too. I
left.
was being generous.
Yeah, but with this team, they're just playing so goddamn hard for the
Yeah.
full 48 minutes, and this is, I guess, where we can start talking about some of the end of the bench guys like Jaden Springer, right? Who it was his first
Let's go.
opportunity to
I'm so
see
excited
Jaden
to talk about
Springer.
him.
Yeah, and he's a young guy. He's got great measurables, great defender, can't shoot at all,
Yeah, that
which is
shot's
going to be
bad.
the limiting factor. It's very Semi Ojeleye-esque the way that he shoots that thing. So, but with Springer, his point of attack defense and his physicality, that one block that he had on Wiseman, I think it was when Wiseman was trying to go back up at the putback, he just flies around the court the entire game. And we saw that, right, when he blocked Jason Tatum in the I think it was the preseason or early in the season.
He did
And
both.
picked his pocket at half court one time for when went full court for a dunk. So I think with Springer, what I saw out of him tonight, it's just like this is why you get a guy like Springer, to get a look at him for the end of the season when you know that you're going to be resting guys. He's going to get some more opportunity to run with you. He's probably never going to see the court in a meaningful game for the Celtics, but it is nice to have him in the system and have another guy that there's not going to be any drop off on the defensive effort whenever you need to rest one of your top guys.
Question for you. What do you think would be the ultimate chaos lineup for the Celtics? So the only thing I will say is this: Springer and Brissett have to be the captains of this unit. I don't know if it's going to be the best basketball team, whatever this unit is we come up with, but what do you think is the funnest, most chaotic lineup the Celtics could come up with?
Oh, then are you talking offense and defense?
I'm just talking fun. It doesn't matter if it's great
Okay.
on offense or defense. Just like what would be in a blowout game? Like, hey, I don't know how this is going to go, but we're going to get fast pace. We're going to have a ton of athletes, and probably some really horrible decision making might happen. But we might also see some stuff we've never seen before.
So definitely Springer and Brissett.
Yeah.
Keep the chucker off the court. I need Kata.
Yes,
Kata's got to be on the court. I mean, Pritchard just to run the show, I guess.
This is what also made me think of this, is your comment earlier that no matter what lineup we go to with, like, even if we're saying like it doesn't have to be the best basketball, you got to have someone that can dribble. And so Pritchard has to be the guy that plays even in this lineup. But
Jordan Walsh just for vibes. Jordan Walsh for vibes.
Yeah, I think that, which is funny because we kind of got that lineup towards the end, except we had Svi in there still instead of Kata. But yeah, I think that's the fun line. I think that's the funnest the funnest non-consequential lineup. Like, it doesn't really matter what happens with that lineup, but I think that could be a lot of fun because just watching Springer and Brissett out there, especially, I think it was in the first half when they got their first stint together. The two of them were like twins, jumping around, going for rebounds and block shots. They almost timed it up, I feel like, a few different times, and which left the Celtics at different disadvantages. But watching Springer tonight, and this is, I think, the longest look that we've had at Springer since he's come over in the trade.
Yeah, about 22 minutes tonight.
Yeah, I mean, his very first closeout I remember was on Fournier, and I was surprised that he got to contest it the way he did, but it was almost borderline. It wasn't borderline. It just was reckless. Like, I don't know how he didn't get called for a foul. He got out there and got so aggressive with it. But being able to watch his athleticism jump off the screen, I have no idea what he's going to become, but I'm excited for him as someone else to watch down the stretch here, and then for him to be an experiment next season. And then, like we've said before, maybe there's a 2-minute stretch you can throw him in the playoffs at some point if you really need to try to, put the pressure on somebody. But I think he's probably more for next year. But I'm excited to watch him down the stretch for sure.
Yeah, he's going to get some extended minutes, but with him, if he never learns to shoot, and they're working with him on that shot, and there's a hitch. Anytime there's a hitch in the shot, it's just never good. So
yeah, and he got some open looks tonight to try to work it out. And
well, he had that one. You can tell when a guy's in his head about a shot where he had a walk-in three and he took like a rhythm dribble, right? And that's when you're in your head. He's like, okay, this is like a literal practice shot. I'm going to dribble it, step into it like there's nobody in the gym, and he bricked it. So, but I don't want to rain on his parade because he played really great tonight. He had 4 assists as well. Yes, Svi's not a guy I want to see much on the court. I want to see more Jordan Walsh. When Mazzulla only gives him, when I saw him on the court tonight, on the bench tonight, I was excited. I was like, we're probably going to get some Jordan Walsh minutes. We only got 4 minutes out of him. I wanted Mazzulla just to like throw him out there in the.
Well, he might have. If Derrick White could have got a goddamn assist quicker,
that's true.
Then maybe he would have. Because Mazzulla was leaving Derrick White out there clearly, obviously, just to get that assist, and it just took a long time.
I know they even called the timeout, and I was like, okay, Derrick White, like there's no way they're going to continue to hunt this after this timeout. And then he came back on the court. Pritchard hit the three off the flare screen, and then he pointed at White. He was like, "I got you, bro."
Yeah.
So that was cool to see. And they're, as I said, it's summer camp. They're just trying some shit. But I think the biggest takeaway from tonight is Porzingis is healthy, right? Porzingis was back on the court. He played 6 minutes in the first half, and I was a little bit worried that he maybe re-aggravated the hamstring.
What a weird time management tonight for Porzingis. Like I don't know what to make of it. Plays 6 minutes, doesn't play the rest, and then he comes back out for second half, and you're like, okay, I guess we're just probably going to do like 12 minutes.
Straight minutes in the second half. Yeah,
like I don't know what to make of that. Like I hope there is a question about it, only because it's the weirdest substitution pattern I've seen for a guy that you're trying to manage injuries. So you do one short stint, one way longer extended stint than I don't know. I can't think of too many 16. I don't think we've ever seen a 16-minute stretch from Kristaps Porzingis this season.
Yeah, it was strange, but he looked good. He was moving good. 5 of 9 from 3 from Porzingis tonight. He had 8 rebounds, had that nice block. I forget who it was, but he like stuffed the shit out of them on a fast break. Cornette played well too, man. Luke's continuing to play really well. He had 10 rebounds, 5 stocks out of Luke tonight. And he's looking so much more nimble and so much lighter on his feet and quicker off of his feet as well. Like some of the blocks that he has on guards that are trying to snake the pick and roll, shoot the floater over him. Luke just continues to impress, man. So this is also, we talked about Pritchard's developmental minutes, but these are also great developmental minutes for Cornette to get time with the starting lineup. And then Jalen, man, it's funny. The referees just like didn't call any fouls tonight. They were just letting them play.
Well, this is a trend across the NBA. They're just calling.
Right. Did you listen to the Zach Lowe podcast with Joe Dumars and Monty McCutcheon?
Was that recent? I don't remember. I don't think I listened to that one.
I think it was Friday. I think it was like the last part of his podcast on Friday. But because it's been such a national narrative, it felt like the NBA was like, okay, we got to send in guys to be on the most premier NBA podcast and talk with Zach Lowe. Obviously works for ESPN. And Joe Dumars and Monty McCutcheon were talking about how, like, they, in not so many words, well, in a lot of words, without actually saying it, that yes, they are refocusing their efforts to crack down on some things that some of the younger referees were getting tricked on. And this is not something that is new. It's more like throughout the season, this is a focus that they've been trying to teach the referees how to call it, and the referees are just now getting good at it.
Okay, I think Simmons and Russillo referenced this in their podcast I listened to today, and I didn't know where it was from because they basically said what you said. A lot of words to say this is what we're doing. Like, we are telling them, like, we're adjusting right now is basically what's happening, and you can notice it, man. Like, I mean, last night in that Washington game, like, you felt a little bit more physical at that screen. I think it was a screen that Holiday ran into when it looked like I worried for a second he might have separated his shoulder, but he ended up staying in the game. Obviously didn't, rest it tonight. But even from the opening tip, like, you can see as people are fighting through screens, like it's being let go. And I like it. I think it ultimately plays to the Celtics' advantage. But as we look at these final remaining, 15 games or so, It does leave me a little bit more worried when we leave Derrick White in situations like leaving Derrick White out there for
Yeah,
5
yeah.
extra minutes to get an assist, right? Like, there's just more opportunity for chaos. And then you also have guys at the end of these benches of Chicago, Atlanta, Detroit, Washington, who they want a contract next year. So
Like my guy Stanley Umude, who was
Umude,
fouling the shit out of Jaylen Brown the entire game, and they weren't calling anything for Jaylen. Jaylen did end up getting to the line 8 times. He was 6
yeah,
for 8. It was nice to see Jaylen have a decent game at the line. But there were a couple times where they were like body to body, two like bison clashing in the wild. It was pretty crazy to see how aggressive Jaylen Brown was being. And I think earlier in the season, Jaylen probably would have got to the line 18 times in that game.
Mhm.
That's how aggressive Jaylen was. And I was a little bit concerned. I was like, is Jaylen like getting tunnel vision in this game? Are we seeing a little too much of that straight line drive action from Jaylen Brown? Like I kind of wanted to see him mix it up just a little bit more. But
Mhm.
then in the third quarter, he just completely overwhelmed them with his
Yeah.
physicality. So it worked out. But there was a moment where I was like, I don't know if I love the way that Jaylen is just like playing through this contact when the refs
Yeah.
are not giving him the
Well, it
calls.
just became, yeah, and then it just became overwhelming with his talent. And I think actually one thing he did to adjust, I felt like in that moment was he was still being aggressive, but it was with patience. And that's
Mhm.
something that I don't think we always have seen from Jaylen Brown, because it's like you said, sometimes a bull in the china shop where he's like, oh, be aggressive. Got it. I'm going head first in here, kind of blinders on. And you saw it tonight where it would be, jab step, pump fake, get in the lane, one dribble, kind of pause, wait, like kind of see how the defense reacts, and then find where to kind of make his move or use his force or see if the double's coming if he's getting in the post. So that again is the next level of Jaylen Brown that we've seen here this season, and specifically the last 15 to 20 games where I think he's really going to another level. But yeah, that's gonna be something to watch out for here, just the physicality down the stretch. And I think as we transition and just look briefly here to Wednesday, because that's probably the game I'm the most excited for rest of the season here, is what's going to happen here on Wednesday night. We'll be back after that game. Adam's going to have a preview for everybody leading up to that game. Don't know if that'll be out Tuesday or Wednesday. We're working on that right now. And then Thursday, live stream after the game, then the day after the game, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. We'll all be there. But I'm interested to see how that physicality will play out against the Bucks, a team that is big, but also their second best player is Damian Lillard, who, if we're going to be allowed to be physical with Damian Lillard, that really plays out in the Celtics' favor to be able to do that. So to see how that may influence that matchup, I think that's going to be a really interesting point to watch out for.
Yeah, because it allows certain guys on the Bucks to thrive, right? Like the Jay Crowders of the world. Now, maybe Jay Crowder
Right.
still has a place in the league where if Jay Crowder can't be physical, he's going to be out of the league next year. But if they allow Jay Crowder to be physical, maybe he can still hang around for a couple more years. Giannis, obviously, physicality does not bother him whatsoever. Brook Lopez, very similar, is just an absolute behemoth. So, it'll be interesting to see how Porzingis. I think Porzingis is probably the one guy in the Celtics I'm most concerned about with the referees letting some stuff go, because he's kind of a foul merchant, in the low post. So it'll be really interesting to see how Porzingis reacts to it. But I think there are certain players in the Bucks that it benefits. And then to your point about Dame Lillard, Derrick White, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday are going to be hounding Damian Lillard, even a guy like Peyton Pritchard, because he's so feisty and is such a bulldog. It's actually been fun, Will.
Why he's in the chaos lineup.
Yeah. I've been watching, I've been like kind of flipping back and forth between home broadcast and away broadcast just to see what other teams are saying about our guys. And one guy that the last 2 nights I watched the away broadcast, they really like Peyton Pritchard. They're like, everyone just is in love with Peyton Pritchard and the way that he's playing. The Wizards broadcast before the game yesterday, they said, if there's one guy that I'm worried about tonight, it's that guy, Peyton Pritchard. Like they singled him out of everybody.
We got all these other guys. This is who
game.
you were afraid of. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Peyton would be a guy that's people have their eyes on in the free agency market if Celtics hadn't already locked him up. So I think that's going to look like an even better deal if he continues to play the way he has the last couple nights over this final stretch here of 15 games or so.
But I think the Bucks game is an important game for Pritchard, the Peyton Pritchard proof of concept in the playoffs to come out.
Establish his role and what he can be in a series.
Especially against a bigger team. Like, yeah, obviously Lillard's a little bit smaller. Pat Bev, they got Pat Bev now. So like maybe there is a place for Pritchard to defend against the bench unit, right? Going up against a Pat Bev. And it'll be fun to see Pat Bev, who another guy that will benefit from referees not calling fouls. Like that could really benefit Pat Bev. But it'll be fun to see how Pritchard handles that matchup.
Yeah, I'm excited for that game. That's going to be a fun one. Wednesday night, Celtics, Bucks, 1 seed versus the 2 seed. Not your traditional 1 seed versus 2 seed, given the amount of games between the two of them. But Celtics up to 54 wins on the season, now 6 in a row, go for 7 against Milwaukee. We'll be back Wednesday night after the game to make sure we break it all down for you. And then again on Thursday, we'll bring in Adam and the 3-man weave. We'll dissect all of the major storylines from the Celtics-Bucks game. But for tonight, that's going to do it. Celtics 119, Pistons 94. Greg, it's been a pleasure. And as we always do, we'll send you out of here with some Black Sheep Optimists. We will catch you guys later. Peace.
Every time I get this high, I lose my mind. It don't take much no more until I hit the floor. Every time I get this high, it's you I find. It don't take much.
Time you get the ball, you shoot.
I can't believe you called me a chucker. No way I'm a chucker. I do not chuck. Never chuck. Never have chuck.